Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Outranked Podcast. I'm Rafael, and I'm joined again by Steve Lewis. Steve, how's your day going, bud?
Not too bad. It's Friday, so busy week. Got a busy weekend coming up. Tomorrow's Logan's birthday.
Oh,
So
yeah. Oh, happy
yeah,
birthday to little man.
yeah, it turns big 7. So going out to Chuck E. Cheese. Where else would you go for a kid's birthday?
This, where else would we enjoy, right? As long as they partake in the food, that's all that matters. Because the pizza's not bad at Chuck E. Cheese. I don't know if anybody's
It's not.
been a
It's
fan.
actually not. Yeah, I've tried to do the frozen versions, and no.
No, the frozen versions you can't do. Plus, the one thing that does freak me out is the animated characters. Just that one. That
You
one,
see
I
that?
mean, kind of brings back bad memories.
You see they're bringing on like an adult version of Chuck E. Cheese now. Apparently, I just saw that in the news not too long ago. It's supposed to be like a Dave and Buster's, but now they're rebranding it adult Chuck E. Cheese, or it's called Charles or something. I gotta look it up. I'll find it.
Dude. If they create that and they're serving alcohol, maybe this could be a little more entertaining.
Right.
Uh,
Well, Chuck E. Cheese does serve like beer and wine.
Yeah.
but
I
the
think.
adult version probably has whiskey.
Oh, they've got like
bourbon.
probably a full bar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the adult Chuck E. Cheese. So, everybody who's watching or listening, if you don't know the other face and the other voice that we're listening to, it's Vern Lieb. Vern Lieb is originally from California. Now he currently lives out in San Antonio, and he's a Navy veteran. We're excited to get into your story, man, because this is the first time that, like I said, we've met face to face. We've talked on the phone a couple of times, but very interested in what you're doing now and how you got started in it. So,
Yeah.
thanks for your time, man, and thank you for your service. Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
100%, man. Thank you, and thank you all for your all service as well. Appreciate it, and everybody out there. Thank you.
Thank you, and like I said, man, thank you for taking that time out because I know you're really busy. But like I said, man, I'm really excited. Steve, you want to jump in the first question, man?
All right, so let's go back to kind of the beginning, like we always love to do. So, where are you from? Where'd you grow up in?
Grew up in Victorville, California, middle of the high desert, Mojave Desert, kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Was there till about 13 years old, and then the family picked me up and uprooted, and we all kind of transitioned over to Salt Lake City, Utah. And that's where I was at from 13 to 20 before I joined the Navy, and came. Navy kind of took me traveling around, and that's what eventually landed me here in San Antonio, Texas. But yeah, I was just telling Rafael the interesting part about that was it wasn't just like my immediate family that uprooted from California to Utah. It was every side of the family from mom's side, dad's side, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandmas, uncles, you name it, everybody. Eventually, over the next like 5 to 10 years, just kind of uprooted out of Southern California and found their way to Salt Lake City, Utah. That's kind of where most of them reside still to this day.
It was a mass exodus from California, huh? It
It
was one
was,
of those.
man. It was. And like I said, I
Where,
was not at the time I hated it, man. But when I look back as an adult, got back over there, man, for me, no offense to anybody in California. It was where I lived. There was nothing there, man. So it was a good decision to uproot. That's for sure.
so with nothing being there, like this is again, we like to get to know the background of everybody, right? So with nothing being there, like what was your childhood like? What was growing up like? Was it just pretty much farmlands and
No, desert, man. All desert. So it's literally the Mojave Desert. So it's Joshua trees, cactuses, and you name it. No, so if you're an outdoorsy person, you'll love it, man. As long as you like the desert, because that's what we did as kids. It was sports. It was bicycles, motocross, lizard hunting, rabbit hunting. We were out in the desert all the time, out doing something. We were that typical childhood, man. 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. out in the sun. That's kind of what we did. So if you like sports, if you liked us activities, BMX activities, things that you can do in the desert, it's a great spot for you. Outside of that, it was kind of drugs and nothing else, man. Because of that, there's not a lot to do there. So that was a lot of the reason why my family kind of uprooted, man. They had their little play a little bit in that drug environment, those kind of things, and just they got themselves together, got it corrected, and said, hey, we got to get out of here. And so that's what we did, kind of uprooted out of there, and that's what took us over to Salt Lake City, Utah.
and so I'm interested because they say especially when kids have nothing to do, and I got two of them on my own, and when they have nothing to do, they find things to
Oh yeah.
do. I mean,
Yep.
Lewis, you were on mute on that one, but I'm sure.
I was just saying, usually it's not what you want them to do.
Oh, yeah, exactly right. Well, especially nowadays with everything they got at their fingertips, man.
And it's never like hey, I want you to clean your room or I want you to do the dishes. They're like, oh no, we're not doing that. We want to go out. I'm like, story. My son a few months ago had a friend that they went out and they were trying to walk around at midnight. And I'm like, what are you doing at midnight? Dude, at midnight, you're asking for trouble at that point.
We weren't even out at midnight.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And he's 12 years old. And I was like, dude, no, we're not doing that. Like, I don't mind if you stay up late because it's your summer break, but like, don't be walking around, and so in Victorville, there's, like you said, there's not a lot. I mean, there has been some farmland that kind of popped up a little bit on the outskirts.
Okay.
But at least last time I went through there. But you're right. It's a whole bunch of sand and desert. So what kind of kid was Vern like growing up?
Nothing, man. Yeah, it's I mean, obviously, we'll get into the business here in a second. It's kind of what led me to this, but I played sports since I was 6 years old, man. So I started playing baseball at 6 years old. The very next year, I added in football. The very next year after that, I added in basketball, and those were kind of my main three going forward. I dabbled in a few others, track and field, a little bit of soccer here and there, but those were my main three going forward. I picked up a weight at 11 years old, man. So my family lived with my grandma, and my grandma was pretty well off. And so when I was 11 years old, she bought one of the first ever like multi-station workout units, like one of those ones that has like, 4 different areas you can sit in. One side's squats, one side's lat pull down, one side's dips, that kind of stuff. But even to this day, man, that thing, if I was to see that thing, I'd be impressed by the quality of it because it was the top of the line back then. And so we had an awesome outdoor shed, a real outdoor shed, and that's where we set it up. And 11 years old, man, I picked up my first weight and just fell in love with it. Absolutely fell in love with it, and never turned away from the sport athletic environment. And that was just kind of my jam the whole way through, man. So I was an athlete my whole life. I raced some BMX when I was a kid for about 8 years, raced some BMX. But yeah, that was it, man. I played a lot of video games as a kid, which I'm kind of surprised that didn't stay with me over the years. It kind of started to fade out around 17, 18, but it was sports, BMX, and video games when I was a kid, man. And then the video games kind of, got out of there a little bit later on in life. Yeah. Yeah.
Steve, you got a question, buddy?
So, did you ever get into the motocross scene? I know that's real big out there.
Yeah, I didn't. I personally, all my family members, I was really into BMX. My family members, especially my cousin that I really looked up to, who's 2 years older than me. He was all into motocross. He raced for a little while, and then he lived in the outskirts in the desert. I'm talking like in the middle of the desert. And so when I'd go hang out with him, because he was my best friend growing up. So when I'd go hang out with him, we were always on motocross machines, whether it was dirt bikes, whether it was 3-wheelers, 4-wheelers, you name it. And that's what I'm talking about, man. I'd go over there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and our family, I remember one time, man, our family sent the search party out for us because 10 o'clock at night we weren't back yet. There was a reason we weren't back yet. It was because our 3-wheeler broke down like 3 hours away in the desert. So yeah, we finally made it back, man. But when it came to motocross, yeah, it was with my cousin, man, because he was all about motocross. So I'd be on his bikes with him, on his 3-wheelers with him, and we'd just be traveling in the desert as far as we can go, just on adventures, searching for things, and we'd find some pretty cool stuff, and then eventually make our way back to the house, man. So yeah, I dabbed in a little bit. I was more of a BMX guy personally, but around my cousin and other family members, so there's definitely some motocross involved for sure.
And I'm guessing that was around the time like Tony Hawk, Travis Pastrana, and all those guys were doing the X Games and stuff like that.
So we're talking before X Games. This is before X Games even came out. I would say skateboarding was just starting to get popular around that time. So we're talking like very late 80s, very early 90s is the time frame that we're talking before I up and moved over to Salt Lake City, Utah.
Can you believe that like it sounds so long ago for all of us, right?
Great.
Like it sounds so long ago. It really wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean, 30 years is not a whole long time, but you kind of look at it and you go, holy crap, how old am I?
Yep. It's like, I tell this all the time, man. You just hit on something that my dad, I always go back. My dad's passed away, but one of the things that he said to me that's always stuck with me was, he's like, son, every year you get older, every year goes by faster. I was like, yeah, whatever, Dad. I was a teenager when he said it. I was like, yeah, whatever, Pops. It's one of those, another things dads say, like, what, out in one ear, out the other, right? And I reflect on that all the time, man. No truer thing has ever been said to me. Each year that goes by, it goes by way faster than the previous year did before that. It's insane. Absolutely.
But you kind of grow an appreciation for what happens throughout that year, though. Like the older you get, you start growing an appreciation because now when we have kids and all three of us are fathers, right? So we all see it. And I tell my kid the same thing, like, dude, I know you're complaining about school, but watch, you're going to blink and it's going to be on. It doesn't go by fast enough. And then
Yep.
Like you don't appreciate the little
My
things.
daughter's living that life right now, man. She's going into her senior year, and we're all like kind of looking back, like, what just happened, man? She's my stepdaughter, but she's my daughter, man. She's been in my life since she was 4 years old. Her dad's not part of her life, so she's my kid. And I keep reflecting back on that, man. I was like, man, this is just a while back that you were 4 years old, and now here we are, a senior in high school.
Yeah, I mean, I was the same way. My stepson, he's 12 years old, and he came into my life at 1, and his dad is very involved in his life, though. He's very involved in it, but he still calls me dad. He knows that, I love him. He knows that I'm with him all the time, and I support him in everything he does. I'm coaching his football team, so it's kind of cool to see how it happens. But I tell him all the time, like, dude, I know. He's like, you're taking an hour and a half out of my day. Yeah, but if you enjoy it, like if you're out there having fun, the hour and a half flies. You'll get back on your video game when you get home.
Yep.
Don't worry about it.
100%. Yeah.
So growing up as a kid, what kind of student were you? Were you good in academically or?
Yeah. So yeah, I scored a 99 on my ASVAB. But I was one of the guys. Well, yeah, school came to me insanely easy. And I was, thriving in school all my life until, the sad part was I got a teacher. It was right after I moved to Utah, actually. Got a teacher that, my math, my jam was math. I just love math. And I got into my,
God bless you.
Yeah, I got into my math class, man. And I just had, probably the worst teacher that ever existed. And I'm talking just he was a horrible human being too. But just absolutely didn't give a shit about being a teacher, didn't give a shit about education. And so it really just killed my drive a little bit. So that kind of started like a little downtick in school, but really bottom line, man, is like when I got to high school, like school was just too easy for me. And instead of at that time, instead of seeking out challenges, I just kind of went and did my own thing. So I stopped going to school basically my sophomore year. I kind of just stopped going, stopped showing up. And it led to where my junior and senior year, I had to do a ton of makeup courses just to graduate. And it wasn't because I wasn't capable of doing the schoolwork, it's just I didn't show up to school. I think I had like 97 total absences my junior year of high school, something like that. It was insane.
Well, that's impressive. That's a record,
man. I say
man.
97 absences. That's class absences, not like 97 days, but class absences. But still, kept me from almost graduating. And it was my own fault, man. It's because, I just, instead of challenging myself and trying to look for harder courses and things like that, I just kind of took it the other way. I was like, school's too easy, screw school. Yeah. And so really that's kind of what led me to the military, to be honest with you, dude, because I got out, doing my odd and ends job for 2 years after high school, crappy jobs that I had, wasn't going anywhere, didn't really have the academic background to get in college at the time because of what I did. So that kind of led me to the military, man.
I'll tell you what, 97 absences in all your classes, like for classes, that's you should have a plaque, man.
Yeah,
you should be dedicated somewhere.
Well, then my punishment, man, was, for about a good, I think 6 months, every day after school, I spent time in the library doing makeup courses.
Oh,
knocked them all out and graduated.
Consequence right there.
That was exactly, you learn your lessons, right? Lessons learned, lesson applied.
Hey, but I'll tell you what, that's still amazing. I mean, you're talking to a couple C students right here. Like, we got through, we got by, we did okay.
Man. Hey, what's the saying that they say? What's the doctor that finishes last in the class? You know what they call him?
Doctor.
Yeah. Right. It don't matter, man.
I actually said that on one of the shows. What do they call a doctor that gets a C in med school? Captain, because they didn't do well enough to own their own practice, so they're going in the military.
Yep. There you go, dude.
So, Lou, go ahead, man. You're the next question, brother.
All right, so you brought us up to where you're joining the military. So, out of all the branches, what made you pick the Navy?
Simple. That was the first flyer I saw.
Well, you can't get more simpler than that.
Yeah. So, and I was one of those guys, and I think I told you this on the phone when we talked, Rafael, but, I'd never, ever intended to join the military. And it wasn't because I had anything against the military. It's just because I just never intended to join the military. And so when I finally got frustrated with where I was going in life, it was very apparent that this was going to be my life forever, just these stupid little jobs and never really getting by. And so went to check the mail one day, pulled out a flyer, and it was a flyer for the Navy. It was actually to be a Navy SEAL. That was what it was. And so my intent was initially to be a SEAL, was my intent. And we can get into that story if you want, but I ended up getting...
That'll draw you in.
I got really screwed over by my recruiter, which, and like you said, everything happens for a reason, right? It led me down my path. Here I am today, so I'm sure it happened for a reason. But I had a recruiter that just completely screwed me over, and he ended up getting booted out of the military. But yeah, so I saw the flyer. It was to be a Navy SEAL. And so next thing I know, I think it was I think I called my cousin first. No, I met with the recruiter first. Like the very next day I went down, met with the recruiter, started getting an understanding of what was going on because I didn't know a thing about the military. So started getting a little bit of understanding what was going on. And then when Navy's going to be the way that I go. I had a cousin who had gone in about a year before that. And so I decided to reach out to him and start picking his brain. And that's when he started to direct me. He was in the intelligence field. So that's when he directed me, hey, go take the ASVAB. Let's see where you score. Get back with me. Took the ASVAB, scored what I scored, and got back with him. And he prepped me, man. He prepped me perfectly well. He's like, dude, they're going to try to make you a nuke. That's what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to get you on a submarine. He's like, all right. He's like, I'm in the intel field. He's like, you're going to qualify for the intel field. And he's like, you get in, find out what intel career you want, get a top secret security clearance, and then get out because those things are worth gold in the civilian environment. And so that's kind of what the plan was. That's what the plan was going to be. But I went in and I told him, I was like, all right, cool. That would be the career. I was like, but I want to go SEAL. I want to be a SEAL. Told the recruiter, hey, I want to go to BUDS. I want to be a SEAL. He's like, all right, cool. He's like, still got to choose a job that you want to choose. That's when I chose to be a CTR, which is a signals intelligence guy. Chose the job. Next thing you know, I'm shipping off to boot camp, man. And I think we were like in week 2 or week 3, once you get through all the in processing and doing all that bull BS stuff, and then you actually start training and stuff. And very first morning came where they called out all the BUDS guys. All right, everybody that's going to BUDS, come on up. And so everybody ran up to the instructors, and I ran up there with them, and they start calling names. And then lo and behold, I'm the last one standing there. It's like, he's like, what are you doing up here, Seaman Recruit Lieb? And I'm like, I'm supposed to be going to BUDS training, sir. Like, the fuck you are, get back in line. It's like, so, never happened. So what I ended up uncovering was, because of my ASVAB score, this guy got bigger points or whatever recruiters get for putting me in an intelligence career field. And he tried to get me on a nuke, man. He tried to get me on a sub as hard as he could. He kept pushing and pushing and pushing. You know, I'm almost 6'4". I was like, I had no intention whatsoever of being on a submarine. And I was like, no, dude, it's not happening. So that's when we pivoted to being CTR. And I liked what I saw with it being a signals intelligence guy. So went down that path. That was the last I heard about the BUDS thing. It was a no, because I wasn't on that list, and that was it. And so then I went down and doing my normal schooling after that. Like you said, man, everything happens for a reason. So I'm sure it happened for a reason.
And I was thinking that you joined the Navy because your incredible singing voice every time they march. I thought it was your incredible singing voice in the American Idol auditions that I heard all the time at Lackland Air Force Base.
Oh, all the time.
Yep.
So I have to ask, like, why do they sing their cadence?
I don't know, but I'll tell you what, man, it makes it a hell of a lot of fun when you're actually having those marches, man. Because we can come up with some really cool songs, man. So it was it definitely. I don't know about the other services, because I've obviously never been in them, so I don't know how they feel about their marches and things like that. But I think it definitely livens it up. I can tell you that much, especially when they allow you to put the flair in there and stuff. So we had a good time with it.
I'll tell you what, from two guys that were Air Force, and so the MA, the Master of Arms for the Navy, their school was pretty much conjoined with ours, and I mean, ours is pretty much, you're just telling us which foot to step, and every once in a while we'll rhyme something.
Right.
But you guys were like, I heard some incredible singers.
Yeah.
These guys are good.
Yep.
Yeah. We weren't really singing unless we were running. We were doing, the Jodies while we were running in formation, which absolutely sucks. Because you should just see the caterpillar effect of the entire formation. But the Navy guys, because we all trained at the same facility, we would see them like walking, right? Marching, walking in and singing. And I'm like, why? Right. Can we just, and then the Air Force is over here, like they're just barking orders or just quiet because we're just walking.
It was the entertainment value that was there. It was entertainment value for everybody.
Yeah. So I don't know if they still allow it, but when I was going through my A school training out in Pensacola, Florida, on Corey Station, not only did we do the singing piece, but they would allow us to put in like special steps. Like, so instead of just marching strip, it's like, what do we say? Like, let your left foot drop. I remember that being one of them. We'd like drop our left foot. And then there's one where you kind of like pivot to the right as you go and type stuff like that. Dude, it was awesome, man. They let us put in little dance moves in it as we marched. It was pretty cool.
America's Got Talent is right there, man. I'm telling you right now.
Yep.
It's crazy how it happens. So you did you do your 4 years and then you were just like, I'm using it for the top secret and then I'm getting out and I'm done?
Yeah, exactly. And I regretted it right away, mainly because I couldn't find a job. Because most of my time in 4 years was schooling, Intel career. You spend a shit ton of time in Intel career, doing schooling.
Yeah.
So I
Especially
really
the
only
first
had
2 years.
Yep, exactly. So when it was all said and done and my 4 years wrapped up, I probably only had like a little over a year and a half of actual job experience. And so when I got out, first few months was just crickets on the job front. Then I started getting a couple of job offers on the East Coast. One, I'm not an East Coast guy. It's not my favorite area over there. So, and then the offers that I was getting was, it'd be great here in San Antonio, but at the time, the money they were offering me in the DC area just wasn't gonna help. Wasn't gonna work. So I started, I was kind of kicking myself in the ass for a little while. And at the time, what I was doing to get by was balancing at bars. And that's when online poker was huge. And I was making a fat living playing online poker. So much so that I really wanted to do that for the rest of my life. And then the whole shutdown came of it. So yeah, in the midst of all that, finally, I think it took about a year and a half when I got my first real job offer, utilizing my security clearance here in San Antonio. And never really looked back. It was a electronic warfare red teaming contract with JSOC. Still to this day, probably my funnest job I've ever had. Insanely fun experience. 7 years working directly for JSOC, going out and traveling and going to the, very small to the largest multinational exercises you can imagine. So from very small individual unit exercises all the way up to the most, largest exercises you can imagine and everything in between. It was really cool, man. And we traveled over mostly military range spaces over the country, a little bit outside of the country. And then, even some urban ops, things like that. But basically our role was setting up the adversary communication networks. So we'd replicate communication networks of adversary countries, and let U.S. and allied nations target it, basically. But the fun part about the job was once we had those networks up and they're out running whatever scenario is going on, our role flipped to red team. And now we're the bad guys, and it's our job to try to find the good guys in the hills before they find us and take an op down on the city or on whatever their target is. So we jump in our dune buggies, start using our radio frequency direction finding equipment to try to triangulate their locations off of their radios that they're using to communicate, whatever they're using to communicate, whatever signals they have. See if we can identify those signals and go engage them in the hills. And we had simulated rounds, simulated rifles, simulated pistols, RPGs, simulated IEDs, you name it. And it was like a giant war in a scenario environment. It was awesome.
It's kind of cool how the job that you initially wanted when you joined the military, right?
Dude.
Like you were hoping to go SEAL.
Yep.
You ended up going intelligence, and then when you get out, it kind of ties into what you wanted to do. And you got to play what you were doing as a kid, playing war as a kid.
Yep.
For
money. And then it got even better after that. Well, I mean, we'll get to that here in a second. But when I eventually transitioned more, then I started working directly with special ops, but also utilizing my background and my love and my passion of human performance and exercise science and all that stuff. And we can probably get to there here in a second if you want me to step that line.
Yeah, go ahead.
So
Show's yours, bro.
Yeah, so dude, it was 7 years of JSOC, and then they were taking a massive funding hit in terms of the contract that we had. So 2 of us were pretty high paid because we'd been there the longest, and then we had some a few other guys that weren't as high paid, and we had to they had to cut some funding. Otherwise, they're going to lose body. We were a very body driven entity because we need bodies for these exercise, set up these networks, play this red team, blah blah blah. So 2 of us ended up getting cut. And at that time, I was kind of done with the government, man, to be honest with you. At that time, I'd spent 11 years in the government. And I just was getting more and more passionate about exercise and health and nutrition. Like that never ended. Like I was always personally doing that on my own. And so I was insanely passionate about that. So I decided just to make a change. I started searching for more government work. Because I had about a 3-month time frame before my contract was ending, so they gave me like 3 months notice. So I started searching. It wasn't happening as fast as I wanted it to, and then I just said, you know what? Let me just go pursue my passion. And I decided to become a personal trainer. So I became a personal trainer, started working at Gold's Gym. I eventually started working on my qualifications, beginning more specialty certifications. I became a certified weight management specialist. I became what's known as a TSAC certified, tactical strength and conditioning. So where you can work with tactical environments. Then I became a certified nutrition coach. And then lo and behold, lo and behold, one of the admin assistants that I worked with at Gold's Gym knew somebody who was an HR person for that worked with federal contracting, and just had a casual conversation with this person, mentioned me. I guess that HR person was talking about a job that they had available. Here's what we're looking for, and she's like, oh, I got the perfect person, works with me here at Gold's Gym. And so shared with this person my background. And then so she calls me up. We have a little mini interview. She loves, what I'm doing with my personal training, nutrition coaching, all my health and wellness background, all that kind of stuff, my passion for health and wellness, my military background, special operations, all this other things. And she had this job. The Air Force was getting ready to start at the time it was called their Battlefield Airmen Prep Program, is what it was called. Basically what it is, huge data science driven human performance optimization program. Get these guys to train at their best, recover at their best, be ready for training at all times. Use wearables like Whoops and other things like that to collect data science, help it drive training, drive recovery, all that kind of stuff. So, she said, hey, the owner of this company that had a piece of this contract wanted to meet with me. I was doing a personal training session on base there at the time, actually. And so after I finished my session, I met with him. And he ended up hiring me as his program manager to come and run and help stand up this program. He was the CEO, me, him, and my director of operations. We were a 3-man operation, man. That was it, just 3 of us. And we kind of helped. What it was that before the Battlefield Airmen Prep Program started, they were wrapping up a contract with the Air Force Research Laboratory that was doing research with the Special Warfare Pipeline of the Air Force. So the PJs, TACP, Combat Controller, Special Operations Weather. They were doing a little research project with them. But that research project was tying into this new program called Battlefield Airmen Prep that was standing up. So we helped stand that up from the ground up. And what that course was Air Force, instead of having all these individuals go directly into their career fields, TACP, PJs, combat control, now they go into a preparatory course. And this preparatory course is designed to get them stronger, fitter, teach them more about their careers, like a lot of different things. But we were more on the exercise science piece of that. Get them through here, get them built up, and then eventually transition them into their career fields. So it grew from that to a full-on what became the Human Performance HPO, became the Human Performance Optimization Program. And it encompassed more than just that prep course. Now it encompassed the whole entire career field, basically for all special warfare pipelines of the Air Force. And it stood up, and it started with just training, and then it eventually transitioned into operations as well. And now it's still growing and growing and growing and still doing that thing. So yeah, we took it from the ground up, Battlefield Airmen Prep, and grew it all into what it was, human performance optimization. And it was awesome, man. So it was working directly with special ops. It was incorporating my health and wellness passion, my background for exercise science, for nutrition, all of that, man. It just really a lot of education, which was really awesome. Teaching these kids about
like that. See, that's cool, right? Because you see it nowadays in the NFL, you see it in Major League Baseball, and you see it in all these major sports where these athletes are very data driven on how they exercise. Take the NBA, for example. What is it? Game rest and stuff like that optimizes how they play for the next game and prevents injury. And NFL, they use the analytics now to base off of how fast everything's going and how much faster you got. And you're doing it for probably the world's most elite athletes that nobody took advantage of until you guys came up with it. Like the program, you're the program manager and the guy that created it.
Yeah,
you guys came up with this.
We did, and we had a lot of free weight. We had a lot of free play there too, because bottom line is it just wasn't really known, what techniques help the body recover the best, that kind of stuff. So we got to do a lot of trial and error personally and figure things out and figure out what was working, what wasn't working, look into the data and kind of figure it all out. But you kind of hit on something, man. Even though pro sports and college sports and stuff are doing this, nobody in the country, maybe even world, I don't know about world, but nobody in the country was doing it to the extent that we were doing it. They weren't basically letting the data drive the training, drive the recovery, drive a lot of this stuff. And so my first year there, I gave tours to Olympic committees. I gave tours to the Niners, to the Dodgers. You name it, man. There's so many sports organizations, Olympic committees, everybody that came through there to learn what it was that we were doing. And I went and adopted some of the stuff too. So it was pretty unique. But when it first started, the Air Force basically had a blank checkbook. And it was kind of like the first couple of years were awesome. Because it was like, hey, what do you want? What do you want to try? What do you want to do? Let's figure this out. And it was really cool. It was really cool.
That is, see, and that's cool because, and you just kind of said something, right? Which I think is important even in the civilian aspect, no matter what you do in life, right? You didn't know everything about everything. So you went out and you gave tours, and people who were in the same field that were with professional organizations that are considered their subject matter experts came in and go, wow, I didn't know that either. So you're always willing to learn and always willing to adapt, and you're never holding on to your own information for yourself.
Yeah,
And I
100%.
think that's really important because no matter what you do nowadays, you can be the CEO of a company and sit there and go, well, I know what I'm doing with my company. But if you block out everybody else's idea, you'll never adapt and grow.
And you're hitting on something too. In the early stages of this course, the leadership, the military leadership, did not want these students to have access to all this data, whether it was the WHOOP data, whether it was their sleep data, whether it was whatever data we collected. They wanted to keep that secret from them and just let us use it and let the cadre and the leadership and the contractors use it to drive the training. And it took a lot of convincing of these guys. Like, listen, man, you're not going to get buy-in with these kids, with these students, trusting this data, trusting what we're doing, trusting all these things that we're recommending, if we do not give them access to it, to let them see it, let them see their changes over time, let them see their progress, let them see when they do a certain activity, what it does for their recovery. All right, those kind of things. And so once we started doing that, it was a game changer because these kids, they really started paying attention to it and they really bought into it afterwards. And you get some that just geek out over it and absolutely love it and want to take it to the next level. Yeah, the ones that just didn't believe in it, you have the whole gauntlet, really, to be honest with you. But it absolutely increased the buy-in of the program for sure.
Steve, you got a question?
Yeah, no, I was just thinking that, like my entire career, when you kind of withhold things, right, you just don't have that buy-in. So I'm glad you were able to convince them because, results speak. And if you don't know that you're getting results, then it's like, I'm just here doing it, right?
Exactly.
So obviously you started this program within the Air Force, but did it eventually branch out into the other branches that they adopted, or did they develop their own?
Yeah, so yeah, basically developed their own. So and in those tours as well, it included a little bit of the SEALs, a little bit of MARSOC, Rangers coming through as well. So I'd say at this point now, pretty much every single service, when it comes to their special ops, and even outside of special ops, has human performance elements mixed in now, in some form or fashion. Um, a lot of guys didn't adopt the data science piece of it. They'd adopt other pieces of the program. So everybody kind of took their flavor of it, and everybody kind of went and did their own thing with it. But for the most part, it's replicated in some way or fashion in the way that they envision it. For the most part.
This is just my opinion on this. This
Hey,
is
give me
just
1 second, Rafael. Sorry about
yeah,
it.
yeah, go ahead. But I will say just, my personal opinion and my own thought on this is if the military would have given us as just the regular soldiers, not special operations, but just given us that opportunity to have that same scientific data, you could more than likely eliminate a lot of the PT tests, and you can get rid of a lot of the overweight soldier, the overweight seaman, the overweight airman. You know what I'm saying? Like because you have people buying into that program and staying healthy. I think that's really interesting because I personally believe that something like that would have benefited the entire force, not just the special forces, but the entire military force. I mean, before Vern jumps on, what do you think, Steve?
Oh, I absolutely agree. And I know that, they came a long way with a lot of the programs, especially the Health and Wellness Center. They came out and eventually bought in, to the bod pods and those things where you can kind of see, different metrics.
Mhm.
Not just, hey, jump on the scale. I'm going to take your height and weight and, then throw this into a calculation and that's your BMI. Well, it's not that accurate, right? So to get the more accurate measurements and the biometrics of it, I thought was really good. The problem is that it wasn't widely advertised, right? It was just like on if you, especially if you ended up in the fat boy program as we called it, right? Failing a PT test for any time, you got referred over to the Hawk, and then that was one of the things. And it's like I had no idea this existed.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like if like what Vern was just saying about where they took all the analytics and they, the Air Force wanted to keep it for themselves, but they started giving it to the students and they started giving it to the athletes. If you would have done that to everybody during their MOS school, no matter what your MOS school is, whether it be finance, whether it be truck driver, no matter what it was, you would have so much fitter airmen because they would buy into the program and they would have a healthy lifestyle like it sets them up for life. Because think about it. We all still fold our clothes certain ways. We all make sure our rooms are tidies. That was built through basic training in 6 weeks. If we had the same tools that he provided to the special operations force as a regular Joe, then how much fitter would you wouldn't have these people that are out of shape. You would have a lot more in shape that care about their physical fitness and performing the task to a physical ability, because you're selling them not only as a deadly machine if they need to be, but you're also selling them as a fit soldier, and they buy into the fitness portion of it.
Yeah, and especially because I went through basic training in 02, so if they had that kind of equipment and that science back then, because we did PT on a regular basis, right?
Right.
So even if someone was in peak physical condition and okay, fine, it maybe the analytics didn't necessarily help them get better in certain ways, but everybody else, right, it would also have helped the instructors be able to hone in on those that needed this change or that change, because not everybody can do the sit-ups and the push-ups and the runs in the exact same way, because everybody's body is different, right? Different physiology. So to be able to hone in on that and identify, differences that maybe instead of doing this exercise or that exercise because all we're doing is breaking people, then let's try this instead, but they obviously they didn't have that at the time. So
Vern's back. I mean, what do you think about everything we're saying, man? Do you agree with it?
Yeah, well, yeah, hitting on. I mean, you had a real good point, Rafael. It's like, I mean, bottom line is, data. People need to see the data, see the results, and once you can provide that to somebody and they can see progress, I mean, it's a game changer, an absolute game changer. For example, like one of the things we got here at my clinic is an imaging scale. So part of my requirement that I have is any member of ours, they get one scan a month, and it's so they can see their progress. And that, it verifies my services, my products that I provide to them, and it does them a service because they actually get to actually physically see their success going along. And when you see that, it buys in.
And it also it provides, because when we work out, right, we know if I go to the gym today, I'm not going to see the immediate result today. I'm not going to sit there and come out and be looking like Arnold.
Right.
Even though I get a little pump, I might see a little bit, but I won't see the significant. But the data is automatic. Like, look, your blood flow increased throughout that. So you were getting nutrients to the muscle. You were getting nutrients to the body. Your heart rate was up at peak performance. So you are getting your cardiovascular increase on that. You may not have thought it because you didn't feel it and you didn't see it right away, but it's working. Like, you see the automatic. It's very impressive. I think what you're doing, Vern, or what you did was very impressive. I just wish we would have had it when we were going through, and that the entire service would actually adopt it, because you would have healthier meals at the chow hall. You would see people caring more about it, like straying away from the burgers and the taquitos at the shopette,
Yep.
right? And they would care.
those.
Yeah, they would care more about what they're putting in their bodies, because they know that they have to see Vern at the end of the week and go weigh in and test and go, oh, that taquito really threw you off a little bit.
100%, man. Yeah. It would be nice if we can rewind time, man, and take all this
Oh,
awesome technology and
tell me
science
about it.
back then, man. It would be
I
great.
mean, it's impressive. I mean, I think what you're doing is impressive, because I do believe last week we had a personal trainer that I was stationed with in North Dakota. He became a personal trainer when he got out, and he got totally jacked, and he was awesome on the show too. And I would love to get you in contact with him too, and sit and talk with him. I think we should bring you guys back and have a roundtable together one day, because I think that everything coincides to peak physical performance on this. And and how you get better, not only for the service, because it doesn't just benefit the service, it benefits you in the long run. And Steve, to a point that you touched on, where you were like, well, the data, may not matter to somebody who's physically fit. Well, I would tend to disagree on that, because the data does matter to somebody who's physically fit, because if they're physically fit already, they care about what they put in their body, and they care about how their body's functioning.
Geek about it. Absolute geek about it. But I'm a severe type A personality though, so I geek out over the data, the metrics, my nutrition. I calculate everything. I keep track of everything. So yeah, I'm hitting on your point, Rafael. I'm in insanely good shape, and I geek out over my data to stay in insanely good shape. I track every single little metric, that moves. For example, I just got off of one of my products that I took for 12 weeks. And I was freaking out for a little bit because my resting heart rate was rising so much. Now, my resting heart rate is usually about 48 to 52 beats per minute. And I was,
all right, Michael Phelps.
Yeah, and I was getting close I was getting close to the 60s. So I was like, but I was on one of my products for a while. So I went down a medical chat GPT rabbit hole, and come to find out the product that I was on just causes a little bit of resting heart rate to elevate while you're on it for a little bit. It had me freaking out for a little bit because I thought I was regressing my training. I'm like, why is this happening? Why is my heart rate raising all of a sudden? It's dropping and it's raising, but it come to find out it's because of my products. But yeah, so I'd say the people that are insanely physically fit, those are usually your crazy ones. Those are the ones that are going to absolutely be about the data. They're going to be the ones hanging out at the cryo chambers, the biohacking facilities, all that kind of stuff.
And the ones that aren't physically fit, when they see it, they see improvement, and it gets them into like the data, and it gets them to understand more. And then those are the guys that you see on the social medias that go from 280 to 180 in shred, because they had one guy sit there and go, hey, try this little piece of equipment that's going to show your data.
Yep.
And it provides accurate data of one workout that they did, that they were lifting 5 pounds, but they saw the increase, they saw the benefit, and they were like, holy crap.
Yeah. And then
they jumped up. No, go ahead. But they jumped up.
Something one of the most simple things that like data tracker or wearables track is calorie burn. So something as simple as just seeing that, getting somebody that's just starting into health, they did one workout for an hour and they see they burnt 1,500 calories. Well, then you can go back and you can relate that to the food that you're eating. Okay, well, damn, 1,500 calories. Let me add up a little bit of my food. What adds up to 1,500 calories? I just burned all that off my body. So something as simple as that can get people to buy into it and buy into progressing and evolving and keep on building on that and going and going and
going. It's impressive, because what you started there, man, is great for the special forces community. I just really hope that certain leaders figure it out and try to push it out to the regular military force. And even for me, who's also a former law enforcement officer, law enforcement should do the same thing.
Absolutely.
Law enforcement.
And we give towards some of them too, man.
Yeah, and I think law enforcement, firefighters, they have to be on call all the time, and firefighters, they have probably even harder jobs, because you're looking at, and I know I'm speaking nice about firefighters as law enforcement. That's usually a no, but because there's a sibling rivalry there too. But I love those guys, but
we can talk crap about them, but no one else can.
Yeah, exactly. But
that's why they have the football game and the head-to-head, so they can bash each other a little bit. You get it all over with.
yeah. But at the same time, whenever we're on calls, we'll talk crap to each other, but we're there for the same reason, right? We want to protect and serve.
Yep.
And those guys, though, what makes it harder is they could be dead asleep and get a call, and they have to go. They're on 24-hour shifts. They're not on an 8-hour shift or a 12-hour shift.
Oh, yeah. I see.
They're on 24, so that screws up their cycles.
Yep.
But knowing how they can improve that when it screws up would benefit them. And I think you extend careers that way. I think you extend careers, you extend lives.
100%. Well, that was a huge piece. That was a huge piece of our program. So it had a lot of different initiatives that the Air Force wanted to accomplish. One of the big ones, so they were having a hard time retaining their numbers or meeting their numbers. So that was a big piece of it, of us establishing these programs. Let's really hone in on all these aspects so that we can, meet our numbers that we're trying to meet, and so that these guys can have longer career fields. Because they were having special operators, 20-something years old, early 30s, with broken knees, broken ankles, broken backs from jumping out of planes and everything else, and that doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything for the force. Doesn't do anything for that human being. So that was a huge piece of it. Huge piece of it was, can the data show us what we need to be doing to prolong careers?
And did the data back it up?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's there yet, and because it's still, obviously these programs started in 2016, so I don't know if they even have enough data on it yet to even say that. But I can tell you this: it's not hurting. It's absolutely not hurting. Teaching people about their bodies, teaching people about better recovery techniques, better nutrition, all the things that you can be doing to take care of yourself, it absolutely helps, regardless of what studies are out, what's out there right now, that are not out there right now. It 100% helps. Education helps.
And do you think that it's going to be implemented throughout the entire forces and throughout law enforcement agencies? Is that the goal? Is that the goal that you foresee for a program like this?
Yeah, so I mean, so traditional military was always coming by as well, getting tours and things like that. Like Air Force was bringing it into their boot camp, so they did bring a little bit of the data science into their boot camp. One of the tools that we use monitored like body temperature, heart rate, breathing rate, things like that. So Air Force boot camp kind of brought that in for a little while to test it out for at least the safety aspect of it. Um, so yeah, I mean, I would say yeah, but at the same time, one of the limiting factors is always going to be funding, man. So like even with the programs that I'm talking about, I've kind of heard through the grapevine that they've really started restricting and pulling back on the wearables, on the data science. Because it's not cheap. It's very expensive. So when funding gets cut, things like that gets cut. What's the first thing to go? The toys are the first thing to go.
The investment, though, the investment you're making into, because you're talking about
Yep.
an investment into somebody's life and career that can do 20 years and may not do just 4 years and get out, may do 20.
Yep.
And you keep them around for a while.
Yeah. I think there were some numbers too.
And it costs the government less money because they don't have to shell out as much in VA benefits.
Well, you just hit something else too. While I was at the program, I want to say the figure they gave me was something they did the numbers on the figure to get an Air Force special operator from into boot camp into his career field, actually in operations, costs like $3 million for that one person to get through that whole entire pipeline. So yeah, so you're talking about you're hitting on the nail on the head, Rafael. It's like investing in these people. If you're going to be investing $3 million in their training and they're breaking down 2 years into their career or whatever the case is, what kind of investment is that? So
not only that, but you lower the washout rate too. Like you lower the washout rate from a lot of these things that for people who just quit. And I think you using and this is again just me, and I understand that budget is a big thing too. You got to go with the budget, but when you're investing into somebody, like the budget has to be a little more lenient, because if you're investing $3 million to put a special operator through, and let's say it costs to put somebody through BUDS $150,000 just to put somebody through BUDS first phase, right? Just let's say first phase is $150,000 to $250,000, and I'm not saying that's an accurate number. I'm just throwing a number out there. But if you give them the data and they prevent overtraining, now you keep them from getting injured. You kind of tweak the training techniques to make sure that you prevent injuries, and you recover better, and you have a recovery cycle. And then you keep those guys in the pipeline instead of paying another $250,000 to replace Vern with Steve.
Exactly.
And then you shelled out $500,000 for the first phase because Vern dropped. Now you're investing in another operator that can sit there and backfill for a lot of deployments. And now you're like the long run of it. The long gain of it is you got these guys staying home longer and being with their families, and you're preventing divorces, and you're preventing burnout. You're preventing all that stuff from these guys getting out and wanting to get out, or even committing suicide because they've gone to so much.
Yeah, 100%. They're broken and hurt. Yeah, 100%.
Before we move on to what you're doing, because I know you're on a specific little timeline, and I'm sorry we're keeping you a little longer, man.
I got time.
But when you got out of the military and you said you had a hard time finding a job, how did that mess with your psyche? Did you have any troubles and anything like that transitioning out of the military?
No, not that, man. Yeah, I'm a pretty mentally tough dude. I didn't really have any troubles transitioning out. Because I had the plan. It was a little depressing. Not because I thought I was going to walk out of the military, like walk out of the gates of where I was at was called the MRSOC, Medina Regional Signal Operations Center. I felt like I was going to walk out that gate and people were going to be almost waiting there to hire me. That's kind of the vibe that I had. So yeah, it was a little depressing not getting the job right off the bat, but man, I was making some really good money playing poker, man. So it's like I didn't have a lot of reasons to be upset. So I was doing just fine. You know, I still, even though I was making good money playing poker, I was still looking for my job in the government because, you know, I had a plan. I wanted to get back in the government. I wanted to utilize my top security clearance and get to work. So yeah, I mean, other than just a little bit of, you know, just kind of being somewhat depressed about not getting a job right off the bat, you know, outside of that, you know, it wasn't hard to transition into it. I never, ever, ever went into the military, ever planned on it being a full career. You know, it was one enlistment. I never even planned on 2 enlistments. So the transition wasn't hard at all, to be honest with you, man. It was pretty simple for me.
Awesome. Steve, go ahead, man. You got the next one.
Yes. So obviously we talked about, you know, applications on humans, and Raph and I are both prior canine, so we worked with non-human soldiers and all right. So do you see any applications in the data collection or the science being able to be applied toward non-human entities to extend maybe their lives and their careers? Because they're like 6 to 8 and done.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good question. That's a really good. Now you got me thinking about that, man. Never even thought about that. I mean, they're having help even with human wearables. So I don't think there's anything like that even exists for animals as of right now. But that's just me guessing. I've never
Feel
seen
free to go ahead and patent it, just so you.
I've never seen anything like that, but that's very intriguing because, I mean, the concept's the concept, right? Like, a body's a body. If you can find the technology that can look into that body and tell you what's going on, you should be able to kind of figure it out and figure out, you know, what are the best recovery techniques? What are the best techniques to have somebody ready for training? You know, what's the proper way? What's the proper nutrition? So yeah, I mean, if they found a way to develop the tools to see inside the body now with animals like a dog, for example, that could be pretty tough because, like, you look at the wearables that we wear now, and they've got to be skin to skin contact. So getting through a dog's fur and things like that, that'd be really tough. So I don't know if they'd even be able to do it. But they also have, you know, sensors you can input into the skin, sensors you can digest. Like, they have body temperature sensors. So
I mean, we already put microchips in as it is.
That too. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible, man. I don't know if it's being done or if it ever will be done, but it's 100% possible. I can guarantee that.
That's actually a really good question though, because and Vern, to your point, I know you may not understand this part, but like you know, Steve and I have gone through vet classes that they're like, you can perform CPR on a dog, you can perform, you know, needle puncture and stuff like that to heal a sucking chest wound on a dog. So a lot of the things that you could do to a human, you can do to a dog because their bodies operate the same way. Now they may be formulated differently, but they operate very similarly.
Yep.
So I think that's a very interesting question. And hey, Vern, if you tap into somebody, man, find a vet and be like, hey, maybe we can make some money.
Well, I think I see one of the biggest applications of something like that could be is like just understanding when a dog's spent. Like, when is a dog's energy level is just wrapped and it's time to swap that dog out with somebody else or something like that. Like, that could be a huge application for something like this.
Yeah, because normally when that time frame comes, it's either the dog is too broken to continue or the dog just stops working, right? Now, I've seen some miles, especially that they will go until like their body won't let them go, you know, just because they're so dedicated. But then when I've seen, you know, Sheps, they're just like, they look at something like, nah, I'm good. No, you know, so yes, you know, and they're on a strict regimen for diet, you know, and medications, and it's just like sometimes we end up throwing a lot of things at them because we don't understand, right? And I know that was a big thing, you know, for you and in the special ops, is that, you know, how can we make it better? Well, we can't make it better if we don't understand how. So that was just, you know, I've seen plenty of dogs go down that it could have been prevented, maybe. You know, sometimes it's genetic and they're just screwed. But you know, but
absolutely. So, no, like I said, the concept's definitely there, man. It's absolutely there. You just got to find a way to develop the technology. That's for sure.
That's a really good question. That actually, now that's got me thinking too. Cause that's,
I've never thought about that. I've been in this game for a long time. I ain't never thought about it.
And and Steve knows me thinking is not usually a good thing. It's just one of those that goes down.
Smell it from over here.
Goes down deep rabbit holes. The hamster wheel starts going, and we don't know where we're going. Now, I really wanted to give you this is your opportunity, man. So
yeah.
You are now a franchise owner of a company down in San Antonio, but go ahead and this is your platform, brother. Go ahead and take it.
Yeah. GameDay Men's Health. Yeah, so I own 2 locations. One here in San Antonio. We're opening the Alamo Ranch location. We'll be opening up in New Braunfels, which is just on the outskirts of San Antonio, about 45 minutes out. We'll be opening that location hopefully in the fall time is the plan. Got its start in California, Carlsbad, California, the San Diego area by Dr. Evan Miller. He grew it to a couple locations and then started franchising locally there. And then he hired a company called Franchise Fastlane to kind of skyrocket the growth. And we became the fastest growing franchise in history, actually. There's currently 371 locations open across the country with a few in Canada. By the end of next year, there's going to be 1,000 of us, 900 in the States and 100 in Canada. All those territories have already been sold. So there's going to be 1,000 opening up. And then they'll keep expanding after that. The founder's goal was to be the McDonald's of TRT. Basically, get to that level that when you think of testosterone replacement therapy, you think of GameDay Men's Health. They did a great job of nailing it, man. There's a lot of things that separate us from the competition. One of the big things is he recognized as a doctor that men will find any reason they can to skip a medical appointment. We hate going to doctor's offices. And if anything comes up, any way we can get out of it, we're going to find a way to get out of it. So he tried to build a concept that made it almost impossible. So the first thing we have is at the man cave environment. When you step into a GameDay Men's Health, like you saw my front when we first started this podcast, I had my big red sign behind me. This is not a sterile doctor's office. You walk in and you feel like you're in a locker room with the guys. Sports murals, sports on the artwork, ESPN on the TV, snacks to enjoy, leather chairs. The last thing it feels like is like a doctor's office. It feels like you're in a locker room with some dudes. The other thing, look, make them as convenient as possible. Locate them near highways, in and out, in and out, in and out. Also the processes, typically when somebody's considering starting testosterone, it's a process where you come in, do a blood draw. Then they got to send that blood off to a laboratory, wait for the results to come back. Then they call you back for a second appointment to review those results. Then they call you back for a third appointment to actually get started on the treatment. We do it all in one appointment, usually within 45 minutes. So we have an on-site laboratory. We're the only testosterone replacement clinic in the country that has one. So we get results within about 45 minutes. So our processes the guy walks in, blood draw, vitals get taken, blood starts to spin. With about 15, 20 minutes, we have those results, and he starts having a consultation with our provider. As the consultation goes over the results, medical history, background, goals, symptoms, anything and everything that they could possibly talk about. And if he's eligible for treatment, they'll go discuss protocol with him, and he can literally leave with treatment that same day as his first appointment. So not only get seen, get results, get your first treatment in the same day. And then we offer the convenience of shipping the product to their house. So we'll ship it to their house if they want it, or we can do weekly in-clinic injections in the clinic if they prefer that option. So we give them multiple options for convenience. We don't make it to where you have to be set up an appointment to talk to your provider, something like that. They get a direct line back to the provider. So we give them a texting link. They can text the provider anytime they have questions, symptoms, new things arise. You get a direct line back to them. And then it's the guided care that we have, man. My team here is insanely qualified at what they do. What a lot of people don't understand when it comes to testosterone clinics is there's a lot of clinics out there, individuals that are practicing testosterone replacement therapy that have no hormonal health training whatsoever. And they're out there prescribing it. And that goes for a lot of PCPs. There's a lot of PCPs out there who are now starting to prescribe testosterone with basically zero training. So if you're considering starting TRT, please go to a place that has dedicated training. Ask about the backgrounds of the staff. Make sure they have the right training because that's what we have here. And so far, I've only talked about the testosterone, but I really wanted to also talk about our peptides and specifically what it can do for the vets and mental health issues. So peptides is something, if you're listening to this right now and you have no idea what a peptide is, start doing your research because peptides have the ability to replace every form of medication on the planet. And when I say replace the medication, and I'm talking about root cause treatments. I'm talking about something that can actually cure your situation and not just treat a symptom. Peptides are nothing more than a chain of amino acids. They go inside the body, and whatever its function is supposed to be, it just does it more effectively and more efficiently. Every biological function that happens in your body, over 7,000 of them, happen because of a peptide chain. They all have their own individual functions. And all they do is speed up that process more efficiently, more effectively, with almost zero side effects. Very little to no side effects. And definitely not the you may die side effects that you hear from all the medication commercials that we hear every single day. So
may cause cancer, may cause death, may cause
leakage.
Yeah. Half the commercial has to be the side effects. It's like, man, and people are still out there taking this shit. So insurance companies are freaking out right now. They're well aware of what peptides are. Insulin was the very first peptide ever created back in 1920, and they've kind of been squashing it ever since. By the end of this year, insurance companies are going to either start to adopt peptides and cover them, or they're going to start to fade away because, like I said, it has the potential to replace every form of medication. If somebody's taking a pill for allergies, you're treating a symptom, is what you're doing. There is a peptide out there that could actually treat the root cause of your allergies and cure your allergies. Same goes for asthma. And that kind of leads me into what I really want to talk about with the vets, and that's PTSD, depression, anxiety, TBIs. So much research is coming out on certain peptides completely fixing these issues, curing these issues. Not some pill that got prescribed to you to take and turning you into a zombie and your family's not recognizing you anymore, like that kind of stuff. We got stuff that could actually help people and actually cure their situations. So I'm trying to put the word out about peptides, trying to put the word out about testosterone balancing, just getting your testosterone balance and optimal, not just balanced, because that's here at GameDay. We don't just go with normal and average. We're not just trying to get you to feel normal, not trying to get you to feel average. We want you to feel awesome is what we want you to feel. So we use current research, current science, and we're going to get your testosterone levels between 800 to 1,000 because that's where current research says a man feels his best. So we worry about optimizing health here. We don't just try to get you normal, try to get you average. But just having your testosterone balanced alone, just having that balanced could also help a lot with mental health issues. Your depression, help with sleep, anxiety, a lot of different things just by having testosterone balance. But for those individuals out there that have actual, mental health issues, start looking into peptides, go to a GameDay, talk to a GameDay. There's some stuff that could really, really, really help you out and possibly even cure that situation.
So it's something that you and I talked about a little bit ago offline when we first started talking, and you mentioned it, and I want to bring this point up too because I mentioned to you that I'm on testosterone therapy, but I'm on it through my PCP. I'm on it through my doctor. And you said insurance, you made a comment about it. And you said insurance companies want you at the low end of normal.
Yeah.
So my doctor cares about me being, because for my age, I'm 42. They're like, your low end normal is anywhere between 200 to 600. And that's where they want to keep you. And you're like, we are getting data that you need to be up in the thousands.
Yep.
But the insurance company, yeah, they'll pay the minimum because they want to pay the minimum. They want to pay the least amount of what the treatment is. And I mean, I pay $10 for my 30-day pack of gels, and cost effective. But at the same time, I have days where I feel great, and then I have more days where I'm just like, and then there are times like my insurance, because I'm under TRICARE, my insurance goes, I need a prior authorization from a primary care. And then I have to miss 2 weeks. And even though I've been on the medication for years, they're like, we still need another prior authorization because it happened to me last month. My pharmacy is like, well, you need another prior authorization. I was like, how? I've been on this for so long. And then I call TRICARE Express Scripts and they go, yeah, well, our qualifications for your prior authorization changed. And it becomes a hassle. And then when you miss 2 or 3 doses, you just start falling into a depression and you start feeling the dip. I'm a very big believer in the testosterone replacement therapy. I had before I talked to you, I had no idea about the peptides, and then you kind of educated me a little bit on that. And now that you're giving a little more information about it, I'm definitely going to look into it. Steve, I have 2 game days in my area. There's 3 in Maryland, and I think there's a few right by you in Arlington.
So I just looked him up when he was saying there's 371 locations in the country, and I was like, oh, let me look and see if there's one nearby.
I know the owner.
There's a few.
Yeah. I wanted to hit on something you just talked about, Rafael, and I want to hammer home this insurance piece because you hit on some of it, but you didn't hit on the true intent of it. So insurance does this on purpose because they're insurance. They're going to do everything they can not to cover you. And if you're one of the lucky ones that gets covered, they're going to mess with you even more. So just so you understand, in order to qualify for TRT on insurance, you typically, depending on your insurance company, it's usually going to be between 300 and 350 is where your total testosterone levels of 300 and 350. Meaning if you're not below that level, they will not start you. That level alone is based off of 25-year-old research. That's 25-year-old research they're giving you. They're also basing that number off of a sedentary individual. So somebody who's insanely overweight, whose physical activity is typically going from the couch to the kitchen and back to the couch every single day. Like that's how they base their qualification numbers. So they're already doing it on purpose, not to cover you. So they only cover about 15% of guys that actually apply for testosterone, when the research shows about 70% of guys actually need it. So that's the first thing that they're playing a game with. Then the bigger thing that you hit on is they try to keep you at a certain level. So they're not going to optimize your testosterone like we do here or like other clinics do. they're going to keep you barely normal, barely average. And when I say barely normal, barely average, that's their numbers barely over, barely normal. Because I already told you 600 is what current research says is average nowadays. And then the worst thing that they do, man, is like you talked about, you hit on a little bit where may have like a little 2-week gap where you have to come off of it because of authorizations and things. That alone's already messed up to do a man's hormonal system, because once you start a treatment plan, you need to plan on being on it for life. So by going up and down, up and down, up and down, all you're doing is wreaking havoc on a man's system. But here's the worst thing that they do. There's certain insurance companies where if you cross a threshold in terms of your total testosterone levels, they will completely take you off of it. 100% take you off of it. Not only is that insanely horrible to do to somebody, it should be illegal, is what it should be, because you are messing with a person's hormonal system. You're literally possibly killing that individual by taking them off that, because who knows what could happen to them.
Because they could take their own lives.
100%. That too.
Because it forms to depression.
There's some guys that rely on this stuff to be mentally balanced. And when you just yank them off it, and especially when it comes to VA stuff, you yank them off of it, like, who knows what kind of game you're playing with these guys. So it's a very, very sad game that insurance plays with people. And we do a real good job of hammering home why we're a cash paid business. We do take HSA cards, FSA cards. We can provide itemized receipts if somebody wants to go and fight their insurance company to try to get coverage. But bottom line is even if you are to get this covered by insurance, know that you will not have your testosterone optimized. You will barely feel a change. I mean, you hit on it, man. I don't know where your testosterone level is right now, but if they're hovering you around 350, 400, if you were to come into one of our clinics and we got you to 800 to 1,000, you're going to feel like a whole new man, a whole new man. And you're going to feel like the way you used to feel when you had energy running throughout your body and drive running throughout your body.
And I could just imagine the outcome that it would put into my workouts in the gym, into my workouts, and to my energy levels at home. But it's not only the energy levels, and a lot of people don't understand this, but the recovery and the sleep. I would sleep a whole lot. I've slept a whole lot better when I feel my testosterone levels are closer to a normal range than when they're not. When they're closer to a normal range, I sleep incredible.
And then all the other benefits you get from having proper sleep.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And when they're not, I'm up all night and I'm going through anxiety. I'm going through all that stuff.
The next day sucks.
Yeah, and the next day it's rough.
Yep,
it's rough. 100%. But I mean, it's so impressive what it does. And I told Vern earlier, I'm gonna go look up my GameDay around here, and I'm gonna make a stop in because I'm very interested in not only the testosterone but the peptides as well. Because I mean I'm medically retired. I got injuries, I got symptoms and stuff like that, and I need to get checked. And I don't want to keep taking medications. But I also noticed, and I did my research on this too. For those that are struggling with being overweight, especially after getting out of the military or law enforcement or first responder career fields, GameDay offers also GLP-1s. So they offer a lot of the semaglutides and a lot of the trizepatides and stuff like that help with body mass.
Yep.
So anybody who's interested, please look them up, because I think this is a very, 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 very beneficial program. And considering that's a one-stop shop and you guys can do everything in one visit, is very convenient. You can't beat the convenience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's the guided care. I mean, you hit on the weight loss. One thing I do want to say about the weight loss is the last thing, at least at my clinic, I can't speak for every GameDay clinic because we are franchised, individually owned and operated. But at my clinic, we educate. So GLP-1s are great. You're going to lose a lot of weight. But if you're not educated properly on what you need to do to maintain muscle mass, avoid the rebound of the weight gain once you get down to a level that you're wanting to get down to, if you're not educated on what you need to do to make sure that weight doesn't come back, it's going to come back, and it's going to come back twofold, threefold, fourfold. So we educate at my clinic. Yes, we're going to get you down to your weight loss goal. But hey, here's what you have to do on your side in order to maintain your muscle mass, in order to avoid the rebound weight, in order to do all these things. So education is a huge piece of it.
And then I think it's also important to also note on this, it is called GameDay Men's Health. However, and Vern made sure that he let me know this too. It doesn't matter who you are. You could be a female, male, make a stop in. They have also female dedicated clinics in their franchises as well, right? And they're opening them.
Yeah, so for GameDay, we can treat women for everything other than obviously ED, and our testosterone. And the reason for that is because we have a sister brand that just got launched last year called Her Way. It's currently only available in California. So for those of you who are listening, if you're in California and you're a female, you can check out Her Way if you have hormone issues. They can address your hormones, and it's got a beauty spa attached to it as well, so some cosmetic pieces to it. So yeah, so at GameDay proper, we can see females for everything other than ED and testosterone. If they're interested in hormones, they can go to Her Way, at least out in California. It has not branched out yet. They're going to start franchising in the next year or two, and then it'll be everywhere as well.
Well, that answered my question. So I was going to say, about nearly 20% of the military force is women, and they suffer from the same PTSD and anxiety and everything else, that we have as men. And so, yeah, I'm glad you guys don't exclude them, even though the title seems to. But
yeah, it does, and then we're also not allowed to market directly towards women for our services. So, like for example, I can't say, oh, hey, well, ladies, come in for peptides, but I can say, hey, ladies, is your man? You seen a change in your man's attitude, a change in your man's drive? Like you can do that kind of advertising, like towards the women for the men, but I can't advertise directly to the women. But I do when I'm out like doing ground marketing and stuff. If I'm at a ground marketing event, I make sure I let the ladies know that we can see them 100%.
Absolutely.
Good to know.
Well, before, like, as we start to wrap up here, Vern, any last thing you want to say, man? Because I'm very impressed with everything you do. With everything you've done throughout your career, it's very impressive. You are an awesome person. You're an awesome human being. I'm very, very happy and proud of you, man. I think what you've done is amazing, and the dedication that you show now to make individuals better. It doesn't matter what your job is. You mentioned earlier, truck driver. Doesn't matter what you do. You need to feel your best and optimal at all the times. And I think that's awesome. So go ahead, man. What, before we close out, go ahead.
Yeah, that's one thing I want to hit on first, and I'll do like a little closing remark, but just I want to make it aware too to everybody. Like, there might be some young guys listening right now, like in their 20s or whatever, that, oh, this doesn't affect me or whatever. Everybody needs to know where their testosterone levels are now. Because of diets and lifestyles, and the big one is environmental factors. You can only avoid environmental factors so much. We're bombarded by environmental factors that destroy men's and women's testosterone levels. Some of the examples I like to give: artificial lights. I'm sitting under one right now here in this room. You guys are probably sitting under them. Artificial lights kill your testosterone. You handle a receipt from a grocery store, that ink gets absorbed in your skin, it destroys your testosterone. These are just some examples that I'm giving of that things that we can't avoid every single day. So we got guys in their 20s nowadays have T levels as low as guys in their 80s just 20 years ago. That's how bad it's got. So even the young guys out there, stay on top of your testosterone levels, call up a GameDay, go get it checked just to learn your levels at least, and then start addressing them when they get low. But everybody should at least know their levels and be tracking them. And then outside of that, man, I just wanted to say, yeah, so I'm extremely passionate about health and wellness. I want to play a huge part in helping the community, the environment get a lot healthier. When I see unhealthiness, I see sickness, and I want to be a big factor in contributing to fix that and helping that. So yeah, the message I have for everybody out there is just, take your health seriously. People are dying at such young ages nowadays, and we're set up for failure with the food system here in this country. We're set up for failure with the healthcare system in this country. So it's on you to take the initiative and take control of your health. So start addressing it. Be around for your family, be around for your kids, be around for your grandkids. Start taking control of your health. Your life will change mentally, physically, spiritually. You'll be in a much better spot. Just start addressing it. Fix one thing up to start with, and then start to build on it. Build until the next thing you know, you're a different human being.
That's awesome, man. And where can people find you, man? Where are you on social media and all that stuff?
So I'm on social media. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Go to locations. You've got the Alamo Ranch location on the website. Socials are at GameDay_Alamo Ranch for Instagram, and GameDay Alamo Ranch for Facebook. So that's my handles. For those of you that are not in the San Antonio area, go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com. You'll see all the locations, 371 locations currently open across the country.
That's awesome, man. Hey, and thank you very much for your service. B, for coming on and see what you're continuing to do to improve people, because you could tell you have a passion just for making sure everybody stays healthy. It's about longevity, everybody. It's about being around for your loved ones for as long as we can. We can only put off father time as long as we can, and this is just about helping sidestep father time as long and as much as we can to be around for our loved ones. So, Steve, you want to take us out, man? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say, thanks for coming on. And one of the things I love about this podcast is I always learn something, right? Definitely learned some stuff today. So you learned today.
Nice.
So definitely appreciate you coming on and sharing, your experiences. And, maybe one day you'll have a conversation with RFK Jr. and, get it built into the government program. So who knows? But thanks again for coming on, for everybody out there. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram and X at Outranked Pod. You can find us on Facebook at Outranked Podcast, and we're on TikTok as well. So make sure you check us out, right? Follow us, and don't forget to check out GameDay Men's Health, right? Find one location near you, and maybe if you mention Vern's name, maybe they'll give you a discount. I don't know. Maybe it's a franchise,
Well,
right?
vets already get fat discounts anyways.
Well, there you
That's
go.
awesome.
So
that's awesome.
All right, and for everybody else, we'll see you on the next one.
And the TikTok handle is Outranked Podcast 1. Just so everybody knows, Outranked Podcast 1. Everybody else, thank you for showing up and listening, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, everybody.